Hello, Dragon families, and welcome to Inside the Dragons April-May edition. As you'll recognize, there's a lot going on across the district. We'll start out by sharing about the Orion Oaks Day of Service, many wonderful opportunities for our students. We've had our middle school spring events and look forward to sharing those with you if we have been able to do those this year. And also, we are going to take a look at our high school spring student athlete signings. Also out at the high school, we've had our spring theater productions and also at the middle school. So there's a lot going on. We're really looking forward to sharing with you.
As Drew Tollerton settled into the job as the Orion Oaks Elementary principal, he had a vision to teach students beyond the curriculum. By creating an annual day of service, students could learn about the world beyond their class and even their building. On May 14th, the Orion Oaks students and staff used the half day to reach out, beginning with Mr. Tollerton's video message to begin the day.
So a couple years ago, myself and some staff members here at Oaks got this idea that we realized school is bigger than just math and reading and the academics, and we wanted to spend some time where we took a day where collectively all 500 and 550 of us in this building came together for a common cause, and that common cause being just giving back through acts of kindness and service and different projects that would benefit our school, our community, people in Lake Orion, and just in general, we could come together and talk about what it means to just do good. And in a world that sometimes gets a little crazy, we felt it was important to take time in a day like today to give back.
The projects ranged from cleaning up and helping with gardening outside the Orion Center to creating blankets for those in need, offering bags of helpful food items, and gathering donations of cereal boxes to pass on to a food pantry.
About 3 years ago, Mr. Tollerton came to a group of us here at Oaks, and he said, I'd like to, for a half a day, put the curriculum aside and do extension activities where every student at Orion Oaks does service community. It could be making blankets for babies, making dog toys. This year we incorporated our soccer goal building in the STEM lab. It's just a way to remind the kids that life isn't just about them, and it's about everybody. So we dedicated this day, May 14th, to be our second annual day of service.
People have been really into it though throughout the school, right?
Oh, every student, every teacher, they're all excited. They're coming together with ideas. It's been a great collaboration between the staff and the students.
While Mr. Martin helped plan the overall day for the school, STEM coach Andrea Brooke tied in some lessons for the weeks leading up to the event with project-based learning. The service project she worked on with the upper elementary classes involved creating soccer goals for the school. While outside engineering professionals could not meet with the students in person, they connected through Zoom and worked the process from the earliest stages. While there were multiple meetings, the engineers from General Motors and DuPont guided the students, even helping problem solve.
Hi, my name's Art Cawley. I work with DuPont. I've been with DuPont for 32 years. And my area of expertise is applicable here because I glue things together. I bond plastic materials all day long. And we have a number of projects with a number of OEMs, so General Motors, Stellantis, or Chrysler, where we glue plastic car parts together. So that's what we do, and makes cars stronger, lighter, and safer.
Do you have any opinions on how we might go about getting all of these connections to connect if the only glue we could find is not safe for kids?
I know we've talked about a few things like using a pin system where maybe a bolt and a wing nut or something like that could be drilled through the connection and attached and then taken apart and then service as the area where you could have some adjustability.
So maybe, I just want to make sure I'm following you. You're saying just avoid the glue altogether and
or minimize the amount of glue that we need to use, right? Use some glue and just some of the areas where they would be fixed, and then use the adjustability where they want to have adjustability.
I like the telescoping option. I double check and make sure that the prototypes you were using, because from my understanding that the first prototypes you were using with the smaller pipes, smaller diameter pipes, it was fitting very well. When you went to the larger pipes, there was a little bit of slop in it, right? It didn't fit as
Yes,
well.
we were shocked to find this out. Actually had Lola from Mrs. Mady's class uncover this problem that we didn't really know existed. But yes, there's just too much space in between the pipes.
The students worked in every aspect from the start through the construction.
What are you doing? What are all the steps in the process?
So
What did
we
you
were
guys
like
do?
getting a nose and whatnot, raising like nose and what we need to know at the end, and then we started going by step by that, like money, fittings, cutting the pipes, and right now we're gluing them together.
What are the parts that have stood out to you? What have you enjoyed doing in the process?
I don't know, kind of just like working on them. It was really fun.
Yeah, like the hands-on process, you actually get to do something hands-on instead of just watching it on like a video or a screen. That's been really fun.
As they moved forward, the soccer goals were timed to debut on the day of service. That day, they were set up, and all that was left for the students was to open the netting, attach it, and have their donation that will benefit students at Orion Oaks for years to come. The LOHS middle schools moved into their traditional spring events, which everyone appreciated after missing some in 2020. At Oakview Middle School, the leadership program, or WEB, Where Everybody Belongs, began its transition phase in mid-May. The program is designed to have the 8th graders bring along the 6th graders from the start to finish of the school year, making middle school cohesive. The events included program advisors Laura Martin and Cindy Comp, leading the 7th, soon to be 8th, grade leadership students through interactive lessons.
Oh, some of you are now, you're like, now I remember. Let's try it again. Oh, but some of you did remember. Let's try it one more time. Think of what's happening with my hands. I think we have a pattern going on, don't we? Yeah. Turn and talk with the people around you. Share. If you can share. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ooh, ooh. Ah, ah. 1, 1, 1, 1. Ooh, ah.
While that group was learning how to become leaders, the 8th grade students were wrapping up a year of guidance through their Web Olympics. The games were created to give those younger students some teamwork lessons and leave with those strong connections to the older students.
What are you guys doing as web leaders today?
We are doing a Web Olympics, so we're basically playing a variety of games with the 6th graders, outdoors and indoors, so yeah.
And what are you trying to teach to the 6th graders?
Like working as a team is good, and yeah, something like that.
This whole year, you guys have been web leaders. It's been a crazy year. I mean, do you think you've made a difference for those 6th graders?
Yeah, for sure. We got them comfortable in the school, and hopefully we set a good example for them when they're in 8th grade, so yeah.
I think this year it's been instrumental because it's given our 6th graders a chance to obviously be with the 8th graders, but this group of 8th graders is really involved in making plans to incorporate the 6th graders as an entire team, like the entire grade. And they really know them well, and the 6th graders respond well to the 8th graders and really look up to them. So this year has really been instrumental with the pandemic year. Leaving with a positive note after all the students have been through this year, they also planned a school-wide carnival for June 3rd that incorporates a lot of different activities, gets us outside so our whole school can be together, at least in some aspect, to be able to celebrate all the learning we've done, whether that's in remote learning, whether that's in-person learning, or Dragon Virtual, because those students are invited as well.
At Waldon Middle School, the annual Lewis and Clark Day is an immersive experience to understand life in another time.
Lewis and Clark Day, we have 10 stations set up for kids to travel around and participate in events that have some connection to the curriculum and Lewis and Clark. So, and they have
they can barter with us for additional tokens, but they earn tokens for completing our task and following directions and working as a team. And at my group, they're identifying tree and leaf characteristics. They're playing like bingo, kind of bingo scavenger hunt style game.
The various stations are positioned around the building, with a teacher guiding and explaining each task and how it relates to their subject matter.
Our station is totem poles to communicate a story through pictures and, well, storytelling, how they used to do it with Native Americans.
So we're estimating the size of an animal population in the region, represented by animal crackers laid out on the ground. So they find a few samples using the hula hoops, count up how many are in the samples, and then they use proportional thinking. Instead of counting every one of them, we just kind of estimate the population of how many are out there.
Traditional game they played back in the day for Lewis and Clark, before my time, of course.
Of course.
So we have a hoop, and this is a game they played at home, their hunting skills. And we have a pole, aka their spear.
Oh, I get it.
Okay? So our goal is, we're going to roll, and then you throw that spear, or baton in this case, through the hoop.
My station is shelter building, so the students will have to build a shelter out of the sticks. It has to fit at least one person, and it has to have sides so they are protected from the wind, and it has to be freestanding, and they have to work together to build it.
We're looking at a skunk in a box.
Oh yeah? How does that relate to Lewis and Clark?
It's an animal that they found in the wilderness.
We're looking at all the animal furs that they encountered on their way.
The pelts.
Yeah.
The most interesting and challenging task may be the opportunity to make fire. The students learned the basic course of fire starting and had to prove their worth in a controlled setting.
Cloth. And instead of charred cloth, that's why we're bartering for cotton balls. Okay. So you want me to put this on? See how we do. I've had to put out about 5.
A true education for those students in the wilderness around Waldon Middle School. Each traditional event during the 2020-21 school year adapted with a modification. For the Lake Orion High School student athletes continuing their careers with collegiate sports, there was a dynamic challenge. 3 times each year, Lake Orion High School honors its signees with a ceremony. But this school year, they were unable to hold the first ceremony due to COVID restrictions. For the next 2, Athletic Director Chris Bell and Athletic Secretary Sharon Rosen adjusted the ceremony to the larger auditorium and established the families as an integral part of the process.
It's great to see everybody this morning. It's always one of our favorite mornings of the year. We get to celebrate our student athletes and a great accomplishment. I'd like to welcome everybody to our final signing date of the year. It's been a very successful year. You look at a number of kids that we've had that have signed to go to school and continue their athletic careers at the college level. So we're very proud of that. I think it's really nice to work at a place that supports our kids in all their activities, especially athletics. I also want to thank moms and dads and parents, grandparents, and student athletes. I hope you've done the same, because I can tell you, I guarantee you would not be sitting in this spot if it wasn't for the support, the sacrifices, and the dedication your parents have made to get you here. And it seems like as our kids get older, they begin to realize that more and more, moms and dads. So, I'll tell you, college athletics is a great opportunity. If you think about the thousands upon thousands of student athletes in the state of Michigan, there is an elite few that go on to play at the college level. There's an elite few that have the desire, the talent, and that opportunity. So it's a great opportunity. And I will tell you, athletes, playing college athletics is a life-changing and life-enhancing opportunity.
Each student took to the stage with his or her family, maintaining the family cohort as they beamed proudly as the student's coach described their accolades and accomplishments at the nearby podium.
He is involved in NHS 4 years of leadership and was awarded with multiple OAA and LOHS Scholar Athlete Awards. Sydney does have an impressive record of varsity athletic accomplishments, consisting of 3 years on sideline cheer, 3 years on competitive cheer, 2 years in equestrian team, 2 years in powerlifting, and 4 years on varsity lacrosse team. Sydney is also a captain this year. A huge congrats, and Kalamazoo is so lucky to have this team.
Now, Griffin is a top of the rotation pitcher who really loves to throw in the big games. He has an easy feel for adapting to the game that allows him to make quick adjustments. He's having a really good start to the season on the mound and at the plate. He'll be attending Adrian College. He has a 3.44 grade point average. And as he goes further and further into the season, I think his leadership, his determination, and just his want to is really going to help make our lineup extremely deep and strong.
TK ends up having an outstanding senior season, drawing the assignment of covering our opponent's best receiver most weeks and doing a phenomenal job of it. I can tell you Heidelberg is extremely excited to have an athlete of TK's caliber joining them. The scary thing is TK's best football is still ahead of him because he's still growing, still developing, and still learning the game.
The opportunity to celebrate the senior athletes continued one of the great traditions under Mr. Bell, showcasing the success of students in the classroom and on the field. The Lake Orion Theater programs found ways to produce shows this spring, even with restrictions and challenges. At Lake Orion High School, a year of changing circumstances produced a number of shows, capped by Lovesick in mid-May, before a small audience and streamed to many more online. Though there was a smaller group, the usual procedures, including set building and rehearsals, led to the big show.
Our actual physical audience for this year will be very small, almost, I think we said about 40 people total in the auditorium when we're performing. But for the most part, we are doing a live stream performance. But other than that, from the student perspective, it's about the same. I think it is really entertaining. It's a little different from other shows because this one, rather than having one story progress with the same characters, we kind of have new characters every scene that kind of show like a cycle of one relationship throughout multiple relationships. The pandemic hasn't had too much of a damper on us. I mean, obviously we've had a lot of people who've had to quarantine, like a couple of our crew heads have had to, which has been a little difficult, but we've managed, and we haven't had any major bumps in the road for the show yet.
Concluding with shows living up to the program's lofty standards was the obstacle director Jonathan Kine faced all year. But the theater program thrived in the process.
We want to do everything that we can to make sure that the students have something to really focus on and dive into this year. With as many things as have had to be canceled or pushed back, we are doing everything we can to make sure we're adhering to all of our safety guidelines with groups of students gathering in places, because it's super important to keep the students engaged in what's happening in our district and to make sure that they have something for them and they're not just getting shuffled through their high school career because there's a pandemic. Our numbers are a little bit down compared to a non-pandemic year, but we still have full productions going on. There are over 40 students involved in the production that we're working on right now that opens up in a couple weeks. And we're super excited to be able to be performing live theater and have a, although very small, live audience. Super excited for that. The biggest driving force behind choosing Lovesick, aside from the really interesting themes and messages that it presents, the biggest thing while working in a pandemic, every scene centers around only 2 actors. And those 2 actors are only in that scene. So the rehearsal process lent itself perfectly to working in small groups. So myself and the other two student directors were really the only major crossover between the scenes in the early part of the process. And then even as we came together and started working on multiple scenes at a time, it was still only groups of 6 to 8 students at any given time.
At the middle school level, the productions moved on as well, with Schoolhouse Rock live at Oakview Middle School and Frozen Jr. at Waldon Middle School. The Schoolhouse Rock production was guided by Oakview teacher Ryan Dawley and gave the students a chance to dance, sing, and perform even as they wore masks. The show was to be performed live and be available to be live streamed to families and others to watch. As Frozen Jr. came together at Waldon Middle School, teacher-director Christina Welling found a creative way to share the performance. Without having a live audience, she recorded the rehearsals scene by scene and would stitch them together for the complete performance for those interested to watch online. Having many students involved in the production, from the background offstage chorus to the technical students on light and sound, it was truly a team effort.
Thank you for watching. I look forward to sharing all of our end-of-year celebrations with you next month, so please tune in and go Dragons!
Inside the Dragons is produced by the Lake Orion Community Schools in partnership with Orion Neighborhood Television. For up-to-date news and information about the Lake Orion Schools, visit our website at lakeorionschools.org and watch us on Comcast Educational Access Channel 22 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99.